Hello everyone and welcome to oh shit, baby's sleeping in the corner, don't want to wake him up. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Console Log. This is episode 36, the week of May 14th through May 20th. This is a exciting episode for me because I have my wife to the side of me out of view of the camera writing thank you notes for all the baby thank you notes. So this is, usually I'm by myself, but I actually have people in the room with me, so I actually can feel the energy feeding off of it alive. I hope your past week was good. I had a good last week, albeit pretty exhausting because who has time for sleep when you have a newborn baby? But enough about me, let's talk about the code that has happened in this past week of the world of JavaScript. And with that, we shall begin the episode number 36 of the Console Log now. So let's talk about my favorite thing, which is the TC39 world. And by that I mean it's all the proposals and ideas that people have about how to change, extend, and make better the language of JavaScript itself. There was a new proposal that I saw thrown into the ecosystem by a contributor and person that's been involved in the TC39 process and standards, a fellow by the name of Dominic, and he proposed this new JavaScript feature called Blöcks. And I think I'm pronouncing it wrong because there's like an umlaut over the O, but the basic idea, the tagline on the page is that this is a proposal to add a new syntactic construct called, for now, Blöcks, to the JavaScript language. It is meant primarily to help with use cases around parsing and serializing blocks of code for use in other contexts, especially in other threads. And that is a verbose way of saying that they're proposing adding new syntax to the JavaScript language to make it easier to write code that can be ran off of the main UI thread. Now everybody knows that web workers exist, service workers exist, but there is a lot of overhead and a lot of pain to actually have that code be ran inside of there because there's just a lot more work than you'd have to do in other languages like C#, C++, where you can kind of just make a callback and the language can then just safely run that in another thread. This is a construct trying to create a way to actually have variables. Ooh, I can hear the sirens. I'm pretty sure you can hear the sirens. That's the Manhattan life. Making a syntax so that when you have a variable, it's any code that you write inside of this block syntax is actually encapsulated and cannot touch anything outside of itself, which means that it'll be easier to actually pass that code off the main UI thread and passing it back and forth because there's no danger of having variables and values leak in and out. So again, this is a proposal. This is not a thing yet, but you know, it's kind of exciting because if it is easier as JavaScript engineers to actually write code that can be off of the main UI thread, that means that we can actually write applications that are a lot more performant. So this is pretty exciting to me. This is very much a stage -1. I mean, that's not really a thing, but it's very, very new. I don't expect this to happen anytime soon, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention because if you can imagine a day in the future where you could actually have all of your Redux code in a block, then you can actually free up all your UI thread to do whatever you want inside of there. So very cool. Also in the world of JavaScript, there was a front-end tooling survey had their results posted. I'm not really familiar with the person here, but there was over 5,000 front-end developers responding to 24 questions. And I'm not gonna go into detail about all of them, but you should definitely check them out yourselves. It's always nice to see what your peers in the ecosystem are using, the trends that you see moving along every year. What I found most interesting was the question 16, which JavaScript library or framework would you regard as essential? And React was the first at the top of that list. It was React, then no framework, and then jQuery. So it's interesting to see these trends kind of shift as the years go on and as new frameworks become more popular and people start depending upon different things. But there's a lot of questions about CSS, preprocessors, all these things can kind of just see where the ecosystem at large is. So it's interesting. I encourage you to check it out in detail, but it's always cool to see these types of things. Now this is cool. This is coming out in Google Canary, which is like the future-facing version of Google, which is about 3 versions ahead of Google Stable, but they are adding a new feature into the console that when you are actually running a function, they'll give you function argument hints, which is awesome because if you've used an ID in the past, you've seen this feature before, and now they're bringing that straight into the web inspector in Chrome directly. So very cool, and it'll make it a lot easier when you're actually trying to play around with new DOM APIs that you might not be familiar with. You actually have that documentation just show up right in line. So if you want to play with it now, you can download Google Canary and try it, or you can wait about some time to actually try it in Google Stable, but cool. Here's a big shift also with Google, is that Google posted a blog post about the future evolution on how they are demarcating HTTP sites and HTTPS sites. And the general trend that they're trying to move towards is to make HTTPS be the default that you just assume is what is always present, and to have HTTP sites be the not secure version. So right now, you don't actually have there be such a big distinction between the two, but what the Google Chrome team wants to do is actually move it to have the HTTPS sites, oh, that's so hard to say, the HTTPS sites to actually have those just be assumed as the default. So right now you see like a lock and it's green, it's called out that this is good, and they actually want to slowly make that less standing out so that you actually just see a regular just icon. And then they actually want to increase the warnings of an HTTP site and have it eventually just show it as not secure. So this is good because HTTP is not secure, and to have that trend go towards pushing that as a warning for users at large will make security on the internet at large be more safe. So people are a little bit annoyed by this because I think change is always annoying, but this is definitely a good change when security is on the line. And in terms of the trade-off between security and convenience, this is a very small one. So in this case, I think security definitely wins. So expect this coming soon. If you don't already use HTTPS, definitely check out Let's Encrypt because that's a very easy, free way to get up and running with HTTPS. It's still more difficult than not having HTTPS, but when it's your user securities online, it's definitely a thing to consider. Okay, and that was your console log episode number 36, the number that comes after 35 and before 37. I hope your coming week is great. The baby is waking up, which means that this episode has to end. Nope, he's just stirring. One day maybe he'll make a coding cameo, but for now he's enjoying his time in the shade on the side. I keep looking over there because he's there, he's stretching. Oh, I think it's also time for me to take a nap because I'm tired as well. I will talk to you again next week when it's still May next week, right? Yeah. Almost June. And then, it comes after June. July. Talk to you online. Bye.